Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Delusional Daydreams podcast. I am your host, Ari Lou, and this week I am so excited to just finally feel like I can take a breath. After being back in my hometown, settled back into my parents' house for an entire month at this point, I feel like I'm finally starting to settle in. I finally feel like I can kind of slow down and not feel so gung-ho, like I need to catch up, because I took so many steps backwards just being at this spot or this point in my life right now with the whole breakup and having to move across the country back into my hometown, moving back in with my parents with no job, no car, no money. It really has felt like for the last month I have been playing this huge game of catch up while also trying to maintain progress on my dreams and desires and doing the projects and the podcasts and the content creation. So now that I'm settled in, I found a job, a full-time job with benefits. Oh, yes. And then I also got a new wardrobe, thrifted, Goodwill. It's not like I blew a ton of money that I don't have on clothes that I don't need. No. I actually needed to get a whole new wardrobe for this job because it is a fancier job, this restaurant that I work at. And I am not a fancy person, if you can't tell. So I had to go out and get a whole new wardrobe. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then I needed to get certain certifications like my food handler's card and my mass certification to be able to serve alcohol legally in the state of Washington. And then on top of all that, the biggest kind of hurdle that I've had to think about is transportation. Like I said, I didn't have a car or a means of transportation, and the whole plan was I was going to be taking public transportation or the bus to and from work. And I am not above taking public transportation or taking the bus. In fact, while I was in Colorado doing seasonal work, that was my mode of transportation. I took the bus every single day to work. But the town that I used to live in, the public transportation there was amazing. There were buses coming through every 15 minutes, and they ran from like 5 a.m. until midnight. So literally, like, it didn't matter what time of day you started work or got off work. Most likely there was a bus transportation time for you. But since I've moved back to the suburban life here in Washington state, public transportation is not as commonly used. Something I've noticed is like every single person has at least one vehicle. At least. Oh my gosh, everybody has a car. And being back here, it's like the people that use public transportation, like I said, I'm not above it, and I'm also not judging anybody that uses it because I've used it and I thought I was going to have to use it. But the public transportation out here, like normal people don't use the bus out here. Like where I lived in Colorado, like normal, everyday, wealthier people would use the bus because it just didn't make sense to commute in that tiny little town that I lived in. But here, it's like if you ride the bus, most likely you were a very low income individual, if not homeless. And the bus schedules out here literally only run once an hour. And then I found out too that they stop running out to the neighborhoods out here at 6:45 p.m. Oh my gosh. And if I work in the restaurant industry and I get off at 10 p.m., I'm not going to have a ride back home. Now, luckily, my grandparents, they were very willing to drive me to work and pick me up from work and take me home. Even on those later nights, they were willing to do whatever it took to help get me to and from work because they are seeing that I am showing up and taking the necessary steps for me to make moves for myself, regain my independence, and to truly be able to take care of myself and get on my feet again. And they are trying to help me in any aspect that they can, which has seriously been such a godsend. So for the first couple weeks that I was here, especially during the interview process and the first week of training at my new job, my grandma is such a sweetheart. She let me borrow her car, and that was just literally such a blessing, because that allowed me to really just not have to stand out at the bus, and wait for the once an hour bus schedule and then get to work, 45 minutes early and just sit around. And then once I get off, be trapped basically. So super grateful that they were willing to not only let me use their car, but now that I'm working full time and I didn't have a means of transportation, they were willing to drive me to work and pick me up. So fucking grateful. A huge turning point in perspective, mindset, and I am so fucking grateful. My father, when he found out that the bus didn't run late at night, he had the biggest switch in mindset, which I was not expecting, because he's been kind of a hard ass since I've been back, trying to, in a sense, teach me a lesson on top of the lesson that I'm already living through my own mistakes and through my own choices. And he's trying to teach me this whole lesson of like, well, you should have known better, and I'm going to make sure you know better. But with him finding out about the bus schedule not being in my favor, he came around and actually gifted me the opportunity of a fucking lifetime. He offered to purchase a vehicle for me, fronting the cost, putting the title in his name, allowing me to drive it as my own vehicle, pay it off to him directly so that I don't have to go through a used car dealership, pay an enormous amount of fees and interest, or even have to wait, 3 months of working to gain enough pay stubs to apply for a loan through the bank and then have to pay interest on said loan for a used vehicle. So my dad, when that came out of his mouth that he wanted to start looking for vehicles for me, I almost lost it. I was just like, What? Are you fucking serious? Because holy shit. And what's crazy is, before I even moved out here, and my dad had mentioned the only support he was willing to help me with when it came to finding transportation for me was to co-sign on a used car through a dealership. I, in the back of my mind, had come up with this plan of like, it would just be so much better if he would purchase a vehicle, put it in his name, and allow me to pay it off interest free. Or in my mind, I was actually thinking with interest, because whatever interest he would charge me, I would rather pay him back because he's helping me directly than go through a sketchy ass dealership. But it's funny, I had this whole thing in the back of my mind this entire time. Did I bring it up to him? Absolutely fucking not, because he is already taking me in. He already paid for my rental vehicle to get out here, and he's buying all the groceries and allowing me to eat their food in the house. So it's like, he is already helping me in so many ways. I would never think about asking him to do something like that for me. But lo and behold, by me holding my tongue through all of the craziness that has been the last 30 days, by being patient within myself and through this process, everything transpired to this being the outcome. And I'm not going to say I manifested this, but in a weird way, I feel like I did manifest this. Like, what are the fucking odds that something that I already came up with ended up happening? And it's funny because when my dad actually first brought this up, he had mentioned that he was going to put the title in the car in my name at first. And I was like, well, Dad, if it makes you feel better, why don't you put the title in your name? So that way it doesn't become mine until I officially pay it off. So that way it doesn't feel like I'm taking something for granted. It's like it truly is, it's your vehicle and I have to treat it with respect and I have to pay you And once all of that transpires, then it gets put into my name. And when I brought that up as well, I think that kind of gave him this perspective of like, I'm not here to mooch off of you. I truly am here out of desperation, and I'm not taking any of this for granted. If anything, I'm respecting everything that you are handing me right now. So that's what ended up happening. And all of this kind of happened so fast. Right when he brought all this up, he was the one that started looking for vehicles on Craigslist and all this stuff and started sending me cars. And I only had a few things that were on my list that were non-negotiables for me when it came to a vehicle. One of them being it had to be all-wheel drive. I love to do road trips. I love to car camp. And I like to do long distance, going through mountains, driving through different weather. Like, I don't want to be inhibited because my car can't handle. I want something with true capability. I don't understand purchasing a vehicle that is not capable. I'm at this point where it's like, I need a vehicle, or everything that I own has to truly function with a true purpose. And all-wheel drive or 4x4 capability was a non-negotiable for me. So that was number one. Number two, I wanted it to be at least a mid-size SUV. I wanted it to be big enough to where I could car camp in it. I could put the back seats down if I wanted to build something out later in the future to where there's like a little bed, and I can truly, if I wanted to live in it for a few days, I can. That's something that's very important to me. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I want to be able to do that with my dog in the future. So that was another thing, was the size. And then the only other thing was it had to be less than 125,000 miles, because the last couple of years, my ex and I, we had only bought used vehicles, but used vehicles that had high mileage. And that ended up really biting us in the ass. Even though they were affordable at the time, we ended up paying so much money just because things kept breaking and we had to fix things. And we ended up getting stranded a few times and just getting ourselves in really sticky situations. So yeah, one of those things was I wanted lower mileage. And my budget was $5,000 to $10,000. Obviously, if it's below $5,000, fuck yeah, let's go. But realistically, considering not the job market, but realistically considering the car market right now, fucking so expensive, I was like, okay, $5,000 to $10,000. That's actually very fucking affordable. And that was my budget going into saving bulk for upfronting my own money to begin with. That's the number I had in my head. So those were my non-negotiables. And my dad started doing some research, and he was having some luck, but really not as much luck as I was hoping for. So then just the other day, I started looking on Facebook Marketplace because my dad doesn't have a Facebook. So that's an avenue that I got to look for my own things and kind of contribute in that aspect. So he wasn't doing all the dirty work, right? Ended up finding a vehicle, 2012 Dodge something. I'm so terrible with cars, guys. I don't even know what it is. It's a 2012 Dodge something. It's a mid-size SUV. It's all black, leather interior, all-wheel drive, and it was listed at $6,999. There we go. Right under $7,000. And I sent that to my dad, and he was like, oh, this is really awesome. One of his non-negotiables was the person had to have the Carfax. And I was like, oh, okay, I know Carfax are kind of expensive, and I don't really expect people selling directly used cars are going to have that available. But lo and behold, I message him. I'm like, do you have the Carfax? And he's like, yep, here you go. He sends it over. I show it to my dad, and he was like, wow, it checks out. This looks amazing. And then right after my dad looked at it, he was like, we just started looking. I don't want to jump into anything right away. So we're going to go ahead and see what else is out there. And I was just like, okay. But at this point, I can't really complain. I can't really say anything because he's the one that's willing to gift me this insane opportunity. Because do I have that money right now? Fuck no. The amount of money in my bank account is in the hundreds. I don't have fucking any money at all. So I couldn't complain, but I was really stoked at least the momentum and seeing that, okay, we are seeing stuff with my non-negotiables in my budget and people do have Carfax. So that's actually really good to see. Anyways, we sleep on it for a night, and the next morning my dad wakes up and he's like, hey, so Today, while I'm at work, I'm going to purchase my own Carfax to make sure that the two line up, and then we're going to go from there. And I was like, okay, let me know what you see. And lo and behold, it checks out. And he's like, okay, can you see if we can schedule a time for a meetup? And I go ahead and message the guy. I get everything coordinated, and we end up meeting with the guy. I shit you not even like 2 hours later for his lunch break. And it's like, where I live in Washington, it's like a pretty broad area where I was kind of expecting that we would have had to commute somewhere to actually look at a vehicle or pick it up. But I look at the location, he sends me the address. I shit you not, it's only 5 minutes down the road. What? How is this lining up so much? It was just like boom, 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 boom. So anyways, my dad and I, we go and check it out. Everything checks out. In fact, the guy that was selling it, I looked at his Facebook Marketplace seller history, and he had 5-star rating. He was a car guy. He maintained the vehicle really well. He had all the information as far as like oil changes. He had like a brand new windshield, a brand new battery, brand new tires, like all this other new stuff, and just really kept really good care of this car. And I was just so mind blown at how everything literally just checked out and went boom, 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 boom. And my dad was able to knock down the price, because when I first saw that vehicle, it was listed at $6,999. When he sent over the Carfax and then I didn't respond, the next morning when I had woken up, he had actually dropped the price to $5,900. And I was like, ooh, Dad, like, it's actually dropped to $5,900. How cool. Like, what are the fucking odds? And then when we got there, my dad was able to negotiate him down to $5,600. $5,600 for a vehicle, 2012, all-wheel drive with 115,000 miles on it. Oh my God. The low motherfucking end of my budget. I was in tears. I was elated. I was just like, there is no fucking way this is happening right now. And then my dad, being the OCD champion that he is, he fucking went out, got it registered the same day, got brand new license plate, got it insured. The insurance, I shit you not, cost $500 a year. What? $500 a year to fucking insure that car. I was expecting that it was going to be at least $100 a month. Yo, fam. Everything that lined up in that, it just felt like boom, 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 boom. So meant to be, so divinely timed and just laid out in front of me. And I have to give it out to my father, because holy shit, thank you, Dad. Thank you for having a change of heart. And seriously, like, this is the biggest gift I could have ever asked for. And I didn't even ask for it. This is the biggest gift because I was seriously in kind of a fucking pickle. Granted, my grandparents were willing to pick me up and drop me off and do all that for work, but how miraculous that I no longer have to even think about inconveniencing them and staying up late and having to pick me up from work. I get to come and go to work as I need and as I please. And then I can go to the store, pick up dog food as I need. It's just, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So Dad, if you're watching this, thank you. You saved my fucking life. And now I'm at a point where, because it's so on the low end of my budget, I'm hoping to be able to pay this off to my dad within the next 2 or 3 months. Like, I am just so elated. So that's the story. Now I have a vehicle. What are the fucking odds? I feel so much love and support. And yesterday it was actually my birthday, my 28th birthday. And even though I'm single this year, even though I don't have any friends right now, that actually ended up being the biggest blessing in disguise, because I got to not only relax yesterday, it was like the first day that I felt like I could truly like relax and not feel like I had shit that I had to catch up on and do on a day off, but I just got to hang out and spend some really quality time with my family and just get spoiled with so much love by my family and the people that I hold dearest to my heart. And yesterday, because I kind of released the expectations of what a birthday normally looks like, because I am in kind of a weird spot in my life, it ended up being so much better of a birthday than I've had in years. And I just felt so much overwhelming love and support from everybody. And like I said in my last episode, I have been underestimated greatly by some of the closest people in my life. But like I said, underestimation can truly be a superpower, because the last month, with me finding a job, with me finding a full-time job with benefits and getting my own wardrobe and navigating the transportation stuff and also maintaining my sobriety, being almost 50 days nicotine free, being over 30 days free from the greens, from marijuana. Alcohol is not an issue at this point, but there's been so much progress in the last 30 days, and I've shown up in a way that I've truly never had the capacity to show up for myself before. And my family is really seeing that, especially the people that were underestimating me. And I feel like yesterday was truly a celebration of just me and how far I've come and who I've become. And I really just felt so much love and support. And I have to really give it back to everybody, all my loved ones that have been there to support me through this hard time, because I would not have been able to make the progress that I have made without their help and without their aid and without their support, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Right? Like my grandparents letting me borrow the car for the interviews. My dad fronting the money for the vehicle that I now have, that I now own under his name. I will own soon. Having a roof over my head. Being able to eat groceries free of charge for now until January 1st, when I start contributing my rent for utilities and food and whatnot. But seriously, where I'm at in my life, in the progress I've made, I owe it all to them, because there's been so many moments that I've had to reflect where I could have so easily ended up on the streets with my dog. So easily that could have been my reality. But that wasn't the case because of them. And I'm just so grateful. Like, I really don't have anything other to say. Anything to say. Oh, I can't even fucking talk. I don't really have anything to say other than I am so fucking thankful, and I am so grateful for the people in my life that have taken the time to invest in me against all odds. Truly. And I'm just so grateful to be experiencing the life that I have the opportunity to experience, because I know that I am very privileged to have the love and support that I have during these times, because I know not everybody has this. So like I said, I'm just sitting here with an overwhelming amount of gratitude that so many people in my life have been willing to invest in me and help catapult me to where I'm trying to go. And I'm also, giving myself a pat on the back for showing up in a way that I've never shown up, because it is a give and take, right? Like, they give and then I have to show up as well. I can't just take it for granted. I have to meet them halfway, if not 3/4 of the way or 100% of the way. So, grateful, proud, so much celebration. I'm just in so much awe thinking about, okay, if I've made this much progress in 30 days, in one full month of being here, where am I going to be one more month from now? That's the big kicker. That's the big question. But I think that's all I have for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of your week, day, month, year. Until next time, Ari Lou signing out. Peace punch, Captain Crunches. Yeah. Bye.